Thanks, Tim. Mary Lopez is a remarkable lady. She's inspired and mentored thousands of young Australians in a career spanning more than 40 years. Her work has taught us what it means to be Australian, to respect our Indigenous people, and to celebrate the differences within our society. I first met Mary in 1986 when I was a first-year music teacher at Epping Boys High School. As soon as I arrived, it struck me that there was just so much stuff going on there. There were choirs, theatre, music, programs, and engaging everyone in the school community. I was just filling in for Mary. She had left Epping Boys to be the producer-director for the School Spectacular, which she'd created 2 years earlier. Mary never came back. Her classroom became the School Spectacular. We called it the world's biggest classroom, and almost 100,000 students have passed through it in the last 30 years. Mary has also been the director of the Talent Development Project for 23 years, and the TDP identifies and develops outstanding performing talent in New South Wales schools. And students and graduates include people like Angus and Julia Stone, John Foreman, Human Nature, the McClymonts, and Trevor Ashley, just to name a few. Although she retired from the School Spectacular after 25 years in 2008, she remained the Emeritus Director, and she was invited back this year to direct the 30th School Spectacular, which occurs in a week's time. In 2011, Mary was presented with the Ted Albert Award for Outstanding Services to Australian Music as part of the APRA Awards. Here's a selection of a video, or a section of a video, put together for that presentation night.
The young performers are all learning from each other and they're all creating their shows together, working together. So it's an incredible way of learning respect for each other, and they love it. The really important thing about talent also is that it is unique. We want them to find who they are and to be very proud of who they are and to tell that story. Go one step further, always try harder, never, ever, ever give up.
Mary has created a legacy that the Australian event industry continues to benefit from. She is one of the pioneers of the large-scale theatrical spectacular, and there are so many people in this industry today because of her, and I'm proud to be one of those people. I can't think of a more deserving person to receive this great acknowledgement, and I thank the Australian Event Awards team for making it possible. And Mary, I thank you for everything you have given us. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Lopez, AM.
Thank you very much. To Ian Steigrad and the Australian Event Awards Committee, this is an honour which is so humbling, to be acknowledged by an industry which celebrates and sparks the imagination. Andrew B., thank you very much for your loyal and extraordinary talent and your friendship. You are my most important professional contact, and you've worked with me for over 25 years. Listen, I thought I'd tell you about my world. What inspired me to work with young talent and to create the sort of shows that I created. I grew up in two tiny small country towns in the Hunter Valley, Paterson and Merriwall. And when I grew up, Merriwall was the second of the towns. We were isolated by dirt roads. 27 miles was the closest town over a dirt road. the populations were so small they weren't big enough to have staged a show like the School Spectacular. There was no TV, and I was the much loved youngest child of a family of 8 brothers and sisters. My father died 8 months before I was born, so I'm really lucky to be here. We always had to make our own fun, except for taking part in local Anzac Day marches, being thrilled at the circus when it came to town, the movie theatre, we had the pictures once a week. But I was always singing and dancing in whatever local production was on, and I loved producing the great Christmas music for New Year, Christmas Eve. I loved all of that. And all of these events would have an influence on me in later life. For as long as I can remember, I was always putting on shows and getting involved in choirs and theatre. I wanted to be an actress, but how was that going to happen in Merriwell? So I became a high school music teacher, and as a music teacher I was still putting on shows and running choirs. In 1984 I had 5 choirs at Epping Boys High School, which I absolutely loved. But I wanted to put my choirs into the professional production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, the first one here in 1984. Some of you will remember that. But the Department of Education said, no, couldn't do that. But lovely Frank Meany calmed me down by saying something interesting is coming up. In 1983, the Department of Education had been asked to test the acoustics of the Sydney Entertainment Centre. And in 1984, they decided to put on a real concert. So Jack Neary, some of you will remember the wonderful Jack, Vice Chairman of Arena Management, and retired advertising executive Bruce Harris asked about the concert, and I thought to myself, here's go. I think we can do better than a concert. And I had in mind something that drew on my experiences of life, a spectacular, combining my loves of music, then opera, theatre, circus, and some of the solemnity, the sadness, the mateship, and the raw emotion that I knew as a child on those Anzac Day marches. This became the Spectacular, the first Spectacular in 1984, and it's still going 30 years on. Never would have thought it. I wanted to teach lessons about social justice, our Indigenous people, the struggles of parents and children overcoming obstacles, sacrifices made in war, and of course it had to include children from the country. So there I was with this great gift. Staging and technical requirements, I had no idea. Having said I could do all of this and pull this thing together, and we had 1,700 kids to put on the stage, the first show there in 1984. The staging and technical requirements were just beyond me, but this industry that you people are all part of, so many of you wonderful people involved in this industry were there for me from the beginning. You're the dream makers. With a team of great teachers from public schools, off we went. My recent history, I resigned from teaching in 1988, then I went into my commercial phase. My love of Christmases came through in the Darling Harbour Christmas pageants, from 10 years of those, staged in Tumbalong Park, loved it. I did shopping centre openings, I did football openings, opening ceremonies and so on, opening of sporting events. The last 10 years have been about School Spectacular and the Talent Development Project, working with young Australians, trying to ensure that there is a level playing field. I want to thank the 2 most important people in my life, my son, Andy Lopez, who surprised me by telling me he wasn't coming tonight, and here he is, and my daughter, Kate. They have been patient and loving children through this big career of mine, which was very distracting. Thank you, and I love you. And I love their husbands and wives, Wu and Ivan, and the grandchildren. My loving partner, Rob, who's helped me finish my career with such patience and love. Again, thank you to Andrew B. and to the Australian Event Awards. You see, I want to finish by just saying, the girl from the bush had her dreams, and they came true. And thank you all for walking by my side.